Hello, everyone, and welcome to this evening's meeting of the Westerville City Schools Board of Education. We're delighted to have all of you this evening. I don't think we've had this many people in the room since before COVID, so welcome. It's very nice. The evening's agenda will be displayed on the screens in the front of the room. There's also hard copies in the back of the room. There will be two opportunities this evening to address the board, the first being agenda item 6.1. The first set of public comments is relative to agenda items 7.1 through 11.2. Please state the agenda items you're referencing at the beginning of your comments. The second opportunity is agenda item 12.1. There is a sign-up sheet located on the table in the back of the room, and each speaker will have 5 minutes to address the board, and a timer will be shown on the screen. And with that, Ms. Marshall, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Bell?
Here.
Mrs. Altman?
Here.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Here.
Mrs. Meyer is absent. Mrs. Davidson?
Here. Will you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, up first this evening is district highlights and recognitions, and I'd like to pass it over to my colleagues, Dr. Nancy Nestor Baker and Reverend Von Bell.
We have a lot of recognitions this evening, and as you can tell, this isn't typical for board meetings, even though you might think so. This is not. So we are delighted to welcome all of you here tonight, and delighted to recognize all of you who are being recognized this evening. I'd like to ask you, it might be a little confusing when you look at the agenda. As you'll see on the agenda, it says item 4.01, undesign the red line. We'd like to ask you, if you can, to please stay through that presentation that the students will be making, and we'll be recognizing them as well as part of that presentation. So we'd like to ask you to stay a few minutes, and then we'll release all of you for picture time. All right? The first recognition tonight is one I truly am not looking forward to. It's not one I have wanted to do. It is recognition of Reverend Von Bell as he leaves us tonight. This is Von's last meeting with us, and we all want to thank him for his truly remarkable service. You have been a stalwart defender of the public good. You have been an unwavering advocate for the underrepresented and the unjustly accused. You have been and remain a remarkable family man, an incredibly strong community member, and a man of God. You are a trusted and treasured colleague, and you are my friend. And I managed not to sob, which is a really good thing. We have a recognition for Vaughn. Vaughn, if you want to go through the line and shake hands, as others have shaken your hand so many times. Would you like to say a word or two before you do that?
Sure.
Good. He's a preacher.
Yes, a preacher never passes up a mic and a captive audience. I would just like to just briefly say thank you to the staff, the students, the families of the Westerville City School District. It has been my honor, privilege, and pleasure to serve you all. I didn't write anything because I knew if I did, I probably would be like Dr. Nestor Baker was referring to, I will probably cry. To my fellow board members, it has been my distinct honor to serve with each of you. I consider all of you not just colleagues, but friends. To all of the staff and the leadership of this district, it has been my honor to be able to serve with you. And I leave my position as service on the board. I was talking with somebody not too long ago, and they were going on, and I was, okay, stop. I'm not dead. I'm just not serving on the board any longer. And so I'm still here. I'm still around. I am still here at your service to be able to serve you and this community in any way that I can. Thank you for for trusting me to serve you in this capacity. And so I look forward to the future of our school district. I truly believe that the Westerville City School District is the best school district in the state of Ohio. I leave knowing that the district is in not just good hands, but great hands. And I am sure that you all will continue to make the Westerville City School District a place where everyone belongs. So thank you all so very, very much. Okay, our next recognition this evening, we'll be recognizing from Westerville North High School. I'd like to invite Ben Gableman to come and join me up front. Ben, here comes Ben. Oh, so we need to vote.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes.
Thank you.
We had to do all of that because we're giving you an official resolution this evening, Ben. We want to celebrate Ben this evening. Ben won the state championship in the Division I boys cross country individual race at the Ohio High School Athletic Association's cross country state championships on November the 4th. He completed the race at, Fortress Obetz in Memorial Park. He completed the race at just 14 minutes, 51 seconds, becoming Westerville North's first state champion since 1987, when Bob Kennedy won the second of his two state titles. Ben is not done competing. He plans on running in a few national qualifier meets before moving on to indoor and outdoor track and field races. And after graduation, he plans to compete at Syracuse University and major in computer science. So we want to congratulate you, Ben. We also want to acknowledge is Coach Nick Horton with us tonight. If you'll please stand. And Mr. Yancey, is Mr. Yancey here, the principal from North? They are here representing the Westerville North learning community as well. So congratulations, Ben.
I'd like to call up, oh, let's wait. I got all excited. Let's give Ben another hand, Coach Horton, and Mr. Yancey. Now, I'd like to call up Samson Gorgiolo from Westerville South. Sammy is one of only 48 students in the world to achieve a perfect score on the Advanced Placement United States Government and Politics exam in spring 2023. That is truly remarkable. And beyond that, he is a truly remarkable human being, and we thank you for all that you are. I also want to acknowledge his history teacher, Trevor Kielmeyer. Trevor, there's Trevor. There's Kielmeyer's over there. And Principal Mike Hinsey, Mr. Hinsey, back there. And the parents there. And Sammy's parents. Could you stand as well? Samson, we congratulate you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
You go. He's Samson Gorgiolo.
Our next recognitions this evening, we would like to recognize the marching bands from Westerville North and Westerville South High Schools. And so I'd like to invite, is Sarah and Jacob, are you here? If Sarah and Jacob would come and join me. Okay. The marching bands at Westerville North High School and Westerville South received superior ratings at the Ohio Music Education Association's State Marching Band Contest held at Hilliard Bradley High School last month. The Westerville North High School band earned the highest score in the percussion, music, color guard, general effect, and visual categories for their show, Non-Stop, featuring music from the musical Hamilton. The Westerville South High School Marching Band earned the highest overall rating at the state contest, as well as superior ratings at all band contests this season for their show entitled Golden Hour. We also want to acknowledge once again and acknowledge the two principals, Mr. Yancey and Mr. Hinsey. Wave for everybody. And congratulations to both the Westerville North and Westerville South High School bands on such a tremendous year and a tremendous season. Congratulations to you all. Thank you.
Our marching band directors and our wonderful bands. Congratulations. Next this evening, it is a remarkable privilege to participate in presenting the A+ Awards. The A+ Awards are presented twice during each school year, once in the fall and once in the spring, to employees who distinguish themselves through a single or ongoing demonstration of exemplary performance. The selection committee's decision is guided by how each nominee's actions demonstrate support of the district's mission statement, which is to prepare students to contribute to the competitive and changing world in which we live, a willingness to go above and beyond normal expectations in support of students, and behavior consistent with one or more of the district's values including respect, inclusiveness, community, communication, collaboration, innovation, nurturing, trust, and accountability. The nominees this year were all remarkable, and it is sometimes difficult to identify the winners. Those of you who are here this evening have met those criteria, not only met them, but far exceeded them. And it is truly our delight to recognize each one of you. So we will begin with Minerva France Elementary.
I'd like to invite the Emotional Disturbance Small Learning Community Instructional Team from Minerva France, if you would please come and join me. From Minerva France Elementary, we have the Emotional Disturbance Small Learning Community Instructional Team, consisting of Kevin Wu, Caitlin Spatz, Debbie Swartz, Deb Anderson, Shelby Anderson, Danielle Gilmore, and Sheila Ebrecht. And they have been nominated by a co-worker, Amanda Ostendorf. She writes in her nomination for this team, "The instructional team in the Emotional Disturbance Small Learning Community at Minerva France goes above and beyond on a daily basis for our students. They hold our students to high expectations, both academically and behaviorally. They do so with compassion, empathy, and love. Our students in the SLC show up daily to staff who are smiling and waiting with open arms. They are shown love and care from the moment they walk in until the moment they go home. During the summer, our SLC team wrote letters to students, made home visits, and planned a back-to-school event to help them with the transition back. At the beginning of the school year, one of the ED intervention specialists needed to take a leave of absence. This resulted in everyone needing to take on extra work, which they have done with grace and dignity. Every decision made is made in the best interest of children. Through ongoing communication, collaboration, problem solving, and flexibility, this team has been able to provide the students the one thing they wanted and need: someone who shows up every day to love them, support them, advocate for them, and cheer them on. Would you please join me in congratulating the Emotional Disturbance Small Learning Community Instructional Team from Minerva France Elementary. Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations.
In the back, right?
Thank you so much. Congratulations. Thank you so much for all that you do. Here you go. Wait, you got a thing. Congratulations. Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you. Take it again. Thank you so much for everything. Deborah? Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes, it is. Thank you. You're so welcome.
One more hand, please, for the SLC team from Minerva France.
Next, we'll be recognizing two teachers from Genoa Middle School, Elizabeth Steimer and Kathy Finnegan, who were nominated by student Alyssa Marshall, who says, "Ms. Steimer is my trusted adult in the building, and she is willing to listen and understand while Mrs. Finnegan goes above and beyond to make sure the kids get the work done, even by emailing at night or on weekends. They even take care of class pets on their free time. They do this for the kids, in case someone needs some emotional support. They truly want what's best for the kids. Mrs. Finnegan has been working for over 30 years. She is dedicated and determined to go out of her way to help students learn. Ms. Steimer keeps things light and works to make sure kids understand the subject of the class. They both are truly amazing and truly deserve an A+ award. And there are 2 exclamation points at that point. In fact, they even deserve more. Maybe just a quiet evening knowing a student has been affected by their kindness. Ms. Steimer and Mrs. Finnegan, congratulations. Congratulations again to our Canola winners.
Our next A+ award winner comes from Charrington Elementary, and it's the music teacher, Miss Julie Peretta. Would you please come? Miss Peretta was nominated by Principal Andy Heck, and in her nomination was written of her, Julie Peretta has been the music teacher at Charrington Elementary for the past 7 years. Attend one class and you will see a teacher who is using music to stimulate learning in a safe and nurturing environment. She incorporates reading and math skills into her daily lessons while fostering love of music. From beginning sounds and rhythm, from beginning sounds and rhyming words to fractions. Her ability to make connections with many subjects allows her to use music as an avenue for learning. She values the entire child, and students with special needs thrive in her classroom. Julie's classroom is one where students collaborate and work together in teams in so many different ways. She's working across grade levels to teach students about musical theater and has had a dream of bringing musical theater to Charrington this year. Julie is also the facilitator of Charrington Live, the school's morning show, which not only shares the happenings of the day, but also includes social, emotional learning strategies that students and staff can discuss in their classrooms. Equity and inclusivity are also very important to Julie. She also adapts her teaching to meet the needs of students who are emergent and just beginning to learn English, as well as students who need modifications due to communication or other disabilities. She has written several successful grants to bring unique experiences, such as the use of ukuleles for our students. As an active member of Faustus PTA and leader of music at Church of the Master, Julie is an example of true service for children in our community. She values people for the special differences that make us all unique. These are just some of the many reasons why Julie is an A+ teacher at Charrington Elementary. Congratulations. Congratulations to Ms. Peretta.
Next, it's our privilege to welcome and recognize Nate Van Sickle. Mr. Van Sickle, or Mr. V, as he is known, is from Robert Frost Elementary, and he was nominated by Principal Angela Hayes. Mr. V has brought his skills and experience from a previous career on a news crew to model, teach, and empower students to report news at Robert Frost Elementary. The production of their news program is top-notch, very professional, and is the highlight for the fifth graders that work on the crew, as well as the entire school community. He rotates the crews, meets with them during his lunchtime in his classroom, and creates a collaborative environment. This experience absolutely helps to prepare our students to contribute to the competitive and changing world we live in. Mr. V continually goes above and beyond what is expected as a fifth grade teacher. His students are getting to practice the characteristics of the portrait of a graduate and will represent Westerville City Schools in the workplace in the future. Nate Van Sickle, thank you. Mr. V.
Our next A+ award winner comes from the Academic Enrichment Center, and it is Tom Cook. And Tom was nominated by the entire staff of the AEC. When the Academic Enrichment Center decided to nominate a deserving individual for the A+ award, Tom Cook's name rose to the top of the list. When asked to explain why they felt Tom was deserving of the nomination, staff members identified several character traits that were repeated in almost every conversation: intelligent, compassionate, relational, encouraging, service-minded, and professional. Tom's sense of service to others began long before he ever entered the classroom. Tom served in the Army during the war with Iraq. He returned to a career in education to lead a middle school classroom of eager social studies students. He used props, music, costumes, and laughter to build rapport with his students. Today, Tom works in a blended learning environment, but he still brings in items to use as conversation starters with his students. He consistently prepares students to contribute to the competitive and changing world in which we live, while meeting each of the values our district uses to guide how we operate in the business of education. Tom will go out of his way to ensure any student who is currently struggling is supported and celebrated for their efforts. He will seek out the students that are difficult to connect with and work tirelessly to break down the walls and make a connection. He will find ways to make them laugh and forge a connection, no matter how many attempts it takes. No matter what the student's ability level, Tom will find a way to assist them in the learning process and have the student experience success. It's clear to us that Tom's excellent communication and collaborative skills have served him well in the classroom, in buildings, and in our district at the leadership level. As a result of his ability, he is able to help kids who have previously been academically unsuccessful graduate from high school. He connects with them, he encourages them, he holds them accountable, and makes them believe in themselves and their ability to be successful. These are just some of the reasons why Tom Cook is worthy of the Westerville City Schools A+ Award. Congratulations, Tom. Congratulations, Tom Cook.
Next, we would like to honor Matthew Christ from Westerville South High School. He's not able to attend this evening, but Mr. Hinsey, you'll tell him all the good things we said, right? Okay, good. You would be hard-pressed to find a single individual that has a larger impact on the student body at Westerville South High School over the last 7 years than teacher and coach Matthew Christ. That's what his nominator, Athletic Director Jeff Good, began with. Not only has he turned around the football program, restoring it to one of the most respected in the area, but he also teaches some of our most rigorous courses, AP Physics and IB Sports, Exercise, and Health Science. Matthew's student athletes learn more than just the game of football. They are taught about competition, teamwork, accountability, and how to defend the standard. He routinely passes out the most diplomas at graduation each May, which speaks volumes about the respect our students have for their teacher and coach. It is with great pleasure that Mr. Good nominated our teacher and coach, Matthew Christ, for the A+ award. So congratulations to Matthew.
Our next A+ award winner comes from Minerva Park Middle School, and it's instructional aide John Gouen. Mr. Gouen was nominated by parents Karen and Andy Zastadil. They write of him, John Gouen made it possible for the Zastadil's son, a 7th grader, in the life skills classroom at Minerva Park Middle School to run cross country this year. At the beginning of the cross country season, Derek, who has significant cognitive and communication delays, was too intimidated to join in with his teammates during practice. He would watch the team warm up, and during the training runs, he would follow at a distance. John was with Derek every step of the way, not only for his safety as he was running several miles at practice, but also encouraging him to be more involved with the team. Every single mile Derek ran in practice and in competition, John was running by his side. Derek ran his first race holding John's hand the entire time because he was so nervous. John worked with Derek, building his confidence. He also chatted with other students on the team, joined in with fun Friday games, and helped Derek foster friendships within the team. Halfway through the season, Derek's parents noticed a difference in his confidence. He had transitioned to a new school successfully and was enjoying all the after-school practices and competitions. Derek's growth was obvious at Westerville, the last race of the season. All of the middle schools participated in this event, which makes this race crowd larger than normal. Several students asked Derek to join them by putting eye black under his eyes, which really made Derek feel like he was part of the team. John helped the students understand the best ways to communicate with Derek. Under John's careful watch, Derek lined up and ran the entire last cross-country race by himself. Several teammates cheered him on and even ran side by side. When he finished the race, he joined his team to cheer and celebrate their results. The growth that was seen in 2 months was impressive. Derek went from hiding behind John while his team stretched to being in the middle of the pack, jumping and cheering with his friends. John shows that he embodies the district's mission to prepare students to contribute to the competitive and changing world in which we live by giving him the opportunity to compete in cross country, adapt to the different schools and the courses where the races were held. He showed a willingness to go above and beyond normal expectations in support of students every time he laced up his shoes and ran next to Derek. John incorporates all of the district's values while working with Derek and all of the cross-country athletes. He always shows Derek and his teammates respect. He gave Derek the opportunity to not only participate in the activity, but truly be part of the team or community of athletes. Helping the team communicate with Derek shows John's commitment to inclusiveness and communication. The Zastadils expressed their sincere appreciation for the dedication and support that was given to Derek by John, which they added makes him deserving of the A+ award. Congratulations. Yes. Congratulations to John Gould.
Our final award recipient this evening comes from Wilder Elementary, and she is EL teacher Yoonhee Behringer. She was nominated by her principal, Victoria Hazlitt. Mrs. Yoonhee Behringer frequently goes above and beyond normal expectations to support students through her service as a teacher of English as a second language at Wilder Elementary School. She ensures that students who receive second language services are able to access Tier 1 learning in the general education classroom. And this year, she created vocabulary Google slide decks for any student who may need the support to access academic vocabulary. She has shared these resources with each grade level team at Wilder. Mrs. Behringer also ensures that interpreters are requested and available at all school functions and parent meetings as needed. Furthermore, she nurtures Wilder's youngest students by being the greeter at the kindergarten door each morning and helping them arrive to class in a safe, timely manner. She also organizes special events for families from other countries and volunteers to support various parent engagement activities, often providing educational experiences for students while their parents are participating in school events. Yoonhee serves on several grade-level teacher-based teams and Wilder's teacher leadership teams. She works closely with our intervention specialists to support students with additional special needs. Principal Hazlitt closed her nomination by stating the following: "So many of our staff go above and beyond in many ways. However, the reason that I believe that Mrs. Behringer is deserving of this A+ recognition is because she consistently models respect, inclusive communication, and collaboration across the school community with a focus on meeting the needs of children and families, and supports her colleagues with resources and strategies in which to do the same. There is not a corner of our school or a piece of our work that are not touched with the talents and gifts offered by Mrs. Behringer. Thank you." Congratulations. And one more quick round of applause for all of our winners and all of our nominators. Now, as I said to you as we began the recognitions this evening, we encourage you to stay for item 4.01 on the agenda, which is Undesign the Red Line. This pretty remarkable program is something you'll want to hear about, and you'll also want to be able to applaud the students as they are recognized at the end. So with that, I'd like to call Mr. Scott Reeves, our Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, forward, who will take it from here. Scott.
Thank you. And good evening, President Davidson, Dr. Clark, Mrs. Marshall, and members of the board. I'm excited for you to hear the Undesign the Red Line research done by 4 very special Westerville Central students, Malcolm, Mia, Naja, and Carolina. Their work is an outgrowth of the Exploration of Space grant in collaboration with Ohio State's Kirwan Institute, Otterbein's Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation Center, Worthington City Schools, and the Westerville and Worthington Libraries. We are thankful to Reverend Bell, who introduced this opportunity to us a little more than a year ago. And at this time, I would like to introduce Dr. Margaret Kohler, Professor of English at Otterbein University and a key member of this grant, who will share the background on the research these students did this summer.
Thank you. Well, I want to start by acknowledging it all began with a learning community on race and ethnicity back about 5 years ago that Vaughn and I were both part of, and kind of, at that time, just reading and talking about future projects, and I feel like this one has brought that to fruition in some way. So Undesign the Red Line itself is a national initiative that was created by a design firm called Designing the We, and it has been in many cities around the country, I think over 100 large cities in the country, and in Columbus it was brought, and the Columbus-specific parts were created by the YWCA. So Undesign the Red Line has been making the rounds in Central Ohio since the springtime, and in November, and actually you could still catch it, it's up until December 17th, Otterbein University and the Westerville Public Library collaborated to bring the exhibit to Westerville. So if you go, you will see background about redlining policies more generally, which I, give a college professor a mic. I could talk about the history of that, but I won't tonight. You can go to the exhibit and learn more. But you will see information about redlining more generally. You will see maps, redlining maps of Columbus. You will see interactive parts where viewers of the exhibit have noted what neighborhoods they've lived in Columbus, and shared some of their personal stories about living in Central Ohio. Now, Westerville was not part of the redlining maps because at that time it was a smaller town and not part of Metro Columbus. And so with these wonderful 4 students from Westerville Central High School, we set about researching local history that kind of provided a Westerville-specific look at some of the same history around housing discrimination, demographics, education, things like this. So you can see we've created a panel, an additional panel. The students worked hard on this. They met with us on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m., which was pretty heroic. And each of them identified an area that they would look at in Westerville that was relevant, and they'll each talk about that. But Malcolm, for example, looked at the history of restrictive covenants, racially restrictive covenants in Westerville neighborhoods. Mia looked at the history of the Huber Ridge neighborhood in Westerville and did some oral history work with residents of that neighborhood. Naja looked at the history of the 1986 win-win agreement, which I'm sure a lot of people here know something about. I know a few do. She looked at that. And Carolina looked at she did some oral history interviews with the first graduating class from Westerville Central High School, students of color who were part of that class and what their experiences there were like. So I think will they each come up and talk a little bit? How should we do this, Scott?
Start with Carolina.
Yes, yeah. Carolina?
So my research was based around the first graduating class of Westerville Central. They came in 2003, and I looked at the redistricting for Westerville Central because the kids were pulled from north and south and neighborhoods that go all the way from Morse Road, which is pretty far. And I got those oral histories, and I got an oral history that was pretty important to me, and she was my cheer coach, Coach Keisha. And she originally went to South, and I thought it was very interesting to see how her life differed from other kids who lived closer to Central, and she lived past the Iron Pony, which is, by Hawthorne, which is pretty far away from Westerville Central. And, it was just interesting to, hear what the history was back then. Kids of color didn't get really much recognition. They didn't have the racial, the racial classes that we now talk about in 2023 compared to 2003. So I think we've upgraded a lot in 20 years, and that's what I researched.
I did my research on win-win, the demographics that make up my own classes, which are AP and honor classes in Westerville Central, and as well as getting around Brown. And what I found was how, especially with the honors and AP classes, even with the busing, which is when kids from outside of Westerville are brought into different high schools to just diversify the place, even how even in the honors classes and the AP classes, it's still very secluded, and there isn't as much as people of color in those classes, which I've experienced myself. And I really wanted to look into that, as I'm very passionate about opening those spaces for people of color, and how with getting around Brown, how even own districts made their own restrictions without breaking the law, but they still threw it under the bus with kids of color in their own schools.
Hi, I'm Mia Nybarger, and when this project came into my lap, I immediately knew I wanted to go into research about Huber Ridge because it was my neighborhood, it was my area, and then I found out that I wasn't a part of the redlining map, so that kind of derailed my thought. But then when talking to my peers, they were doing, schooling and redistricting, so that made me centralize my thought on demographic changes in Huber Ridge. And what I noticed from doing oral histories of people who lived in the neighborhood, who still do live in the neighborhood, was that around 15-ish years ago, the neighborhood, Huber Ridge, was not that good. It was a poor neighborhood that had gunshots and car break-ins, and it was called that side of 270. But you were able to go to Westerville City Schools while not paying Westerville proper taxes, which is what drew a lot of people in. And then, 15-ish years later, people moved in, and renters and renovators and families, and they brought the neighborhood up. They brought the people closer together, and they made everybody care about the neighborhood and the land that they were in. So the property value went up, and so did the taxes went up. And that, kind of pushed the original homeowners who came there for their lower taxes out of the neighborhood. But everything was justified by the new schools, like Minerva Park, being moved in. And while some people were moved out, families got new schools, and that's what everybody was okay with. And while I wish I got more, I only have so much time, and I will continue my research.
Hi, I'm Malcolm Poindexter, and I do research on the neighborhoods in Westerville and the restrictions that they had. I really focused on Minerva Park and Gold Park because of their interesting restrictions. Gold Park had racial restrictions, and they were used as vacation homes. So people actually came to Westerville to go on vacation. And then Minerva Park had racial restrictions and alcohol restrictions. And also I created a list of all the neighborhoods and color-coded it by which high school that they went to. But there's still a lot of research to be done about this topic, and hopefully someone picks up where I left off.
Yep.
Once again, please give them, they spent their entire summer doing this research. And so the board would like to recognize you. So Carolina, I'll have you go first. Naja. Mia. Malcolm. And while the board takes their seat, I'll show you the panel that was created on the exhibit at Otterbein.
Otherwise, we guess.
Okay, wasn't that worth staying for? We told you. So at this time, we're going to take a couple seconds, and if you received an award tonight, we're going to take you out in the lobby, and Charlie is going to take pictures. But if you would like, you're welcome to come back and join us and listen. It will be riveting. And thank you all for coming. Okay, moving along in the agenda. 4.2 curriculum update. I'd like to welcome Dr. Knapp and Kate Thoma.
Good evening, everybody. I'm not going to be as exciting as that was, but I'm sure going to try. That was really fun. So Dr. Knapp and I are here to give you a couple curriculum updates, and I'll start with the K-5 lens. I'm in charge of the clicker. She's in charge of the clicker, and she didn't click. It's tricky.
And I did not do that, though. I hope not.
There.
All right, okay, so sorry.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the K-5 lens and update you on some things that I hope to bring back to you when they are completed later this spring. So the first one is work with our English language learners department. Jennifer Winters is assisting with that, but looking at the curriculum standards, materials, and resources that we have across K-5 English language classrooms. We're still working on our art, music, physical education, and library courses of study. Social studies, I spoke with you guys about last year. We were looking at an extended trial of Savis, and we decided not to go with that as a resource, so we're back at it this year, plugging away and working on those resources. And then a big one is English language arts revisions. So we have had Wit and Wisdom for 3 years now, and we have identified that we are looking for some more flexibility with that in order to be able to provide intervention and enrichment opportunities. There was also a phonics update that came out last year that requires phonics instruction through grade 3. So we need to look at our 3rd grade course of study because currently phonics is not required. So we want to make sure that we are meeting all of those requirements. So fingers crossed, we're going to work really hard, and I'll bring those back to you in the spring.
Later this evening, I will be bringing forward for your consideration some courses as we prepare for high school registration to open in the coming months. Can you believe we're already talking about the 24-25 school year? I'm not ready. We are currently updating courses of study and evaluating materials for English language arts, and we're also evaluating materials for mathematics. Given some recent legislation and clarification in Ohio Revised Code, our ELA materials may be selected next year. They had originally said, oh, everything has to be on this approved list, and then in November, they said, oh, we just meant K-5. Meanwhile, the 612 people had been waiting for communication to come out. So we were on pause for 2.5 months, so we are a little bit behind as where we thought we would be by this time. In science, we are updating our materials science course to have fully articulated course of study with driving questions and alignment between buildings. We have 3 third-party curriculum vendors that are updating specific courses in science. and we will be updating to align with those changes in IB, and we had an IB teacher who teaches this course who was recognized earlier, so we'll be sending him to professional learning if this gets approved in the spring. But this focuses on an interconnectedness of concepts, context, and content, and the facilitation of deep learning, which we know is very embedded in our IB program. In AP, we actually have 3 physics courses, 1, 2, and C. They're moving a unit from 2 to 1, and they're aligning their language through physics C. That was kind of the outlier. So they're really just trying to clean some things up. No significant changes there. Project Lead the Way has worked to make their courses both human body systems and principles of engineering, and that's the first course in the health pathway for high school, and then the first course in the engineering pathway. So you know what that means, right? Like next year, we'll bring 2 and 3, so we'll still be talking about and supporting our Project Lead the Way courses at the high school, but to make them more engaging, sequential, consistent, and relevant. So they have some exciting changes that our teachers will be learning about, and we look forward to bringing that to you in the spring. Social studies courses in middle school are also being updated, and we are looking to select resources. And the government course of study is being updated to include the student interactions with peace officer content. That's currently a model curriculum with ODE, where it's in draft form, and one of our teachers, Kelly Stalker at Westerville South, is part of that committee. So that's been super helpful to have her do that work. And then financial literacy, we brought this before you last year, is a required elective for our students, starting with the cohort of 2026, and I know, I never thought I'd say those 2 words together, right? And we are reviewing materials. We have some new teachers in our business department. This is something that is shared between our business and social studies teachers. We wanted to teach it for a year and kind of figure out the ins and outs before we went and chose a resource, but we do believe we'll be bringing a core text in front of you in the spring that our teachers are going to be selecting collaboratively very soon. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Kate.
So now comes the really exciting part. We have a lot of legislative updates this year that require us to provide some additional instructions, so we're here tonight to share those with you. This slide has a lot of text on it, but I felt it was really important to show you what was in Ohio Revised Code, so I'm going to just highlight the bold parts. Senate Bill 288 requires our school district to provide developmentally appropriate instruction in child sexual abuse prevention to students in grades kindergarten through 6th grade. This instruction must occur annually and include information on available counseling and resources for children who are sexually abused. We also are required to provide developmentally appropriate instruction in dating violence prevention education and sexual violence prevention education to students in grades 7 through 12. None of the resources or materials that we use can be connected in any way to any organization that provides, promotes, counsels, or makes referrals for abortion or abortion-related services. As a part of Senate Bill 288, we are also required to provide in-service training to educate school personnel on child sexual abuse. These trainings must include instruction from law enforcement officers or prosecutors who have experience in handling cases involving child sexual abuse or child sexual violence. They must be a part of that training.
Whoops, okay, went too fast. And too fast, okay. I'm going to lose my clicker privileges. I don't have control of the remote at home either, just full disclosure. Okay, each school district shall notify parents and legal guardians of students who will receive this instruction. This communication will include that it is part of our required curriculum, and upon written request to the principal, the parent or guardian may ask to see the materials, and within 48 hours, the principal will allow the parent or guardian to examine those materials at the school. While we have very similar processes, this was the first to articulate the 48-hour rules, so we wanted to point that out. And similar to other topics that are listed on the next page that I'll show in just a minute, upon written request, the students shall be excused from this instruction. So we currently have a number of identified subjects that are listed here. The last 4 in bold are the subjects that we will be discussing this evening.
Can I ask a quick question? Sure. So can you tell us what the communication is going to look like?
So we are working on that, but we have talked with our communications department about just communicating in every different way possible. So at K-5, we know a lot of our, and please speak up, but we know a lot of our parents look to what the teacher communicates home. So there would be something that would go home in like the Friday folder. Am I saying this right? Friday folder, okay. We've also talked about an all-call to our parents and having the principal put that in their update, as well as our secondary teachers sending something home similar to K-5. I have 2 high schoolers, maybe not all the papers come home, but again, we would try multiple avenues to get that communicated. We've also talked, and this would require 2 board readings, so this would be after January 8th, which would be the second time that you would see this. We would be putting information on our website and letting know how people can contact us as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And if anyone has other suggestions about how to communicate, we do feel like it's extremely, extremely important, especially at the K-5 level, for all of our parents actually, for them to know that this is something that we are required to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we've given you all the background information. Let's talk about what we're actually going to do with it. So at the K-5 level, Jesse Martin and I worked together to review all of the proposed options you could use available on ODEW's website. After we narrowed that list down, we met with elementary school counselors, administrators, and teachers that are on the health committee and talked about what we felt was developmentally appropriate and what resources and materials were out there. So for students in grades kindergarten through 3, we're going to use fightchildabuse.org. I do want to say we're not using every material and resource from that website. We decided as a group what we thought met the requirements of the laws and was also developmentally appropriate when we think about 5-year-olds receiving this instruction. Elementary school counselors will provide the instruction in 1 classroom lesson in their already set up structure. So if they were going on the 2nd Thursday of the month, that month's lesson is on the topics that we've talked about tonight. We are exploring offering family viewing options prior to the lessons taking place for families to come with their child and participate in the lesson, because we know that this is some sensitive conversation and topics, and we want to give families the opportunity to, 1, see it, but also to be the one who talks to their child about how their family chooses to handle this type of situation. So we're looking at offering those in February. Those would be led by our school counselors with additional support, and we're trying to offer them in as many locations as we possibly can, drumming up as much business as we can get. We want as many people to see these prior to that instruction taking place as possible. We're also looking at offering, Jesse Martin and I will work together to offer parent prep sessions for just the adults to come and view that. We know that's the lens for that, so we'll give them the information about what's required in Senate Bill 288 and the resources that we'll use to teach it. So that's kind of what it's going to look like at the K-5 level.
So can you explain who Jesse Martin is and the importance of the collaboration?
Sure. So Jesse Martin oversees our mental health and the elementary mental health specialists and the elementary school counselors. So when we first talked, and we felt the elementary school counselors would be a great avenue for this instruction and the support and the warning signs and all the pieces that went into that, we kind of have just been back and forth working with our different stakeholder groups and having conversation, but that was why she was supporting this project. So I do want to give her a shout out too, because this is not an easy topic to talk about. We watched a lot of videos and looked at a lot of curriculum.
No, I appreciate the collaboration.
Yes.
Very much so.
For grade 6, The middle school health teachers selected materials also from fightchildabuse.org, and similar to elementary, we are not using all of the resources that are on that particular website. There is a section for 4-6 and a section for teens. This would be the 4-6 section because we felt that it was the most appropriate. This will be facilitated by our physical education teachers, and as we've collaborated with the mental health team and our school counselors, we'll be working together to meet with that entire group in January to talk through how best to support our teachers as they deliver this content. And we too are going to be having some secondary sessions at Parent Prep, both for grade 6 and for our 7-12 requirement. But our 7-12 requirement is fairly different. So I want to just ask if there are any questions with grade 6 before I move on to 7 through 12. Okay. I really should not have the clicker. Okay. So for 7 through 12, again, our middle school and high school health teachers selected materials from kidshealth.org, and there are more specific classroom lessons banded in grades 6, 8, and 9, 12 that are listed on the classroom.kidshealth.org. Our teachers, our health teachers, have been teaching this content for years. This legislation, I mean, I remember working on this with health teachers back when I first started in curriculum, which was like 2010, 2012-ish. So the dating violence piece has been there, and sexual violence prevention in 7 through 12 has been there for a long time. The difference is the piece that Kate mentioned earlier around where the resources could come from and what affiliation they may have. So we have refined what we have used to align with this requirement. And switching to, so that concludes Senate Bill 288. I'd like to move into House Bill 123, but I do want to check to see if there are any questions. And we have a question slide at the end, so if you think of something, no worries. But just before we move on, I wanted to check in. Okay. Thanks for sticking with us. House Bill 123 requires schools to provide instruction on suicide prevention, violence prevention, and social inclusion annually in grades 6 through 12. For each of these, in collaboration with our mental health team, yay to Jesse and Tammy, Tammy's here, we have selected Sandy Hook programming. And this slide articulates all of the components required of these 3 topics, and we just color-coded it so you could kind of follow along. They do tend to couple suicide awareness and prevention and violence prevention because there's a lot of similar strategies to be utilized with those two. We will complete the suicide awareness requirement through an assembly schedule in which our mental health specialist and social workers will be showing a video through Google Meet to the building and leading that discussion. For violence prevention, we will be showing a pre-recorded video and an extended advisory, again from Sandy Hook. And then lastly, I really don't know where I'm supposed to aim this. Okay. In advisory over a series of days, they will be showing a pre-recorded video using Start With Hello. So that is the name of the program on social inclusion from Sandy Hook Programming. We do have timelines for Senate Bill 288 that starts with parent communication in January, sharing those requirements. In January and February, the collaboration that I spoke of earlier with our 6th grade teachers and support. Later in January, our grade 7 and high school health lessons take place. This is typically, or it falls in the course of study in Unit 2 under Healthy Relationships. In January, in February, we got a lot of things happening in February. In February, our K-5 family viewing nights will be offered, while in February and March, the district will offer sessions on these new requirements during parent prep. K-6 lessons will happen in March and April, and in May, we will review and revise the lessons and the plan for the next school year. One thing that's interesting about House Bill 123 is we knew that it was coming, I think a year before we knew, roughly, before Senate Bill 288 was coming, yet we had to do both things this year, which was a lot. Our House Bill 123 timeline includes collaborating with our secondary buildings to schedule lessons. We're very intentional about this, and we meet with them this Thursday. So we want to make sure that if a suicide prevention learning is happening on, like North has selected February 21st, that no other building is going to have that same learning or any learning on, House Bill 123 at that time. So if additional support staff is available, they are able to support that building. So we are in collaboration with our mental health team to, they will be assigning different people to buildings just to help make sure our students have what they need. And given that this requirement is yearly, so you can see the months that we will be doing suicide prevention and then violence prevention and social inclusion, again, reviewing and revising our lessons. And given that this requirement is yearly, we will be collaborating over the summer to develop grade-specific lessons. So our thought is maybe this becomes what we have done this year, that becomes the 6th grade lesson for all of our students, but then we will develop 7th, 8th, 9th through 12th, because this is something that has to happen annually. And additional information can be found on these websites, and at this time, we would like to open it up to any more questions. Come on.
Would you fill us in a bit on how this applies to private schools?
Sorry.
It does not.
Thank you.
It's very, yes, sorry.
Go ahead.
I will not elaborate, but it's just very interesting what the state requires of us and does not require of private schools.
I do want to thank you and everyone involved in this work, all of the curriculum work. Just looking at these two bills and their requirements is sufficient for most curriculum departments to handle over a couple of years' time. But when we layer on all of the other curriculum work that's going forward, I want you to know how much I appreciate the massive amount of thought and your attention to the sensitive nature of what is being required of us, and doing your very best, all on the team doing their very best to make this as appropriate for our community and for our children's development as it's possible to do. Thank you.
Your comment did remind me that I wanted to share that we're both working with our English language learning department to talk about how we can make sure our families can understand what we're teaching students and have the opportunity, as well as working with Adam Flugie and students in our specialized learning centers, because sometimes what is developmentally appropriate needs adjusted. So we are still in the works of working with those two individuals as well.
There are significant cultural questions in what is being required of us to do.
Yes.
And I know you're very much aware of that, and I thank you for your collaborative work in trying to do that as appropriately as we possibly can.
And to that point, because I had the communications question, making sure that it is in our languages for our ESL families, and just communicating in every way, using talking points and all of the resources that we have to support them. So I didn't mention that either. Thanks.
I have I guess it's a question. So I'm thinking about, these requirements, and as we implement them, we have so many pieces in place that aren't straight up curricular pieces, but so much support of our students in a lot of these areas when things are going on in their lives. And I think, the way that the requirements are written, it's, an hour here, an hour there, right? So I know there's collaboration, but if you would just talk a little bit about, how we do this hour, right, this curricular piece with students, but how are you seeing this fitting together with some existing support and programs that we have? And I don't know if anybody from the back wants to come up and talk about that too, but we'd just love to hear your thinking, so it's interconnected.
I'll start with K-5, and then Tammy, if you want to jump in on anything, go right ahead. So many of the elementaries were already doing Start with Hello, so there's been a focus on some of the pieces that were highlighted through House Bill 123, which is not a requirement of K-5, but that is a part of it. Our staffs are always looking, all of us are mandated reporters and receive training and what the warning signs that we're looking for, so we've always been aware. Now we're providing instruction to help students be aware, but it will not be a one and done. I also know that this is really important instruction, but could be very triggering for some of our students as well, who may be experiencing some of these pieces and parts of what goes into this instruction. So I know that Tammy and Jesse are very focused on what do we need to do to make sure, one, our instructors feel comfortable and confident, because they may also have personal experiences with some of the pieces that we're required to provide instruction on. So just being aware of taking care of everybody in our school community. It is important instruction. We just want to make sure that we are a little hyper-focused on looking for those warning signs, especially in and around the time of instruction, but we don't plan for it to be we got this one day. It is required annually, so we know that that will become a part of our conversation. After selecting some of the curriculum materials and resources for K-3, for example, they have the protect yourself rules. Well, that wasn't previously in our vocabulary, but now it will be. So now we'll be able to have that common language that we'll continue using with students long after this lesson takes place. And next year we'll be able to be a little more forward planned, so they're hearing it throughout the year, and it's not this lesson that comes in and teaches you all these rules.
Right.
So hopefully I answered a little bit from the K-5 lens.
And I would say, with Senate Bill 288, this does align with our health curriculum, and while we are also using the fightchildabuse.org, those same protect yourself language is in there, so we will see a continuum of that. Our secondary buildings, not everyone uses Start with Hello, or not everyone uses the Sandy Hook programming, so I think this gives us a great opportunity to align our work and have greater consistency. Advisory is new this year for middle school, and that work is done by a middle school advisory team, so they will work with specifically the social inclusion and a little bit with the violence prevention of how will that fit into their day. If you've not seen it, it's this beautiful calendar. The teachers click on it, and they will be, that video will start, so they will have that experience, but that is something that that design team will see. We have also been, we have Hope Squad that we have at our high schools, and that aligns with suicide prevention. There's also a piece, and now you're going to lose me, but with QPR, and QPR is only approved for adults, but that would have been a great thing for us to use. But I think I failed to mention this, but House Bill 123, you have to go to the ODE website, and you can only pick things off of the list. Senate Bill 288 also has that, and we really relied heavily on that for K-6. Because those were vetted again by another party. But Tammy, what have I missed? Matt, what have I missed?
Great. Thank you. And it is really important content. I know that we will handle this carefully, but I do have concerns about that triggering piece for some kids. And just making sure that they have the support in all these other ways, and I know they do, but just that's something that weighs heavy on me with this. Yeah, thank you.
We agree.
So I'm just thinking about the viewing at the schools. So we talked about that at elementary schools. Will that be at each school, or how will that work?
So we're still working out the details. I can update you on that. When Jesse presented it to the school counselors at the elementary level, they were all really excited, and they were like ready to do it tomorrow. So we had to slow them down a little bit because we knew we couldn't start that for a little bit longer yet. But we're going to offer it as many schools and as many nights as we can across the campus. Any parent can go to any of the schools, so when the district puts out their communication, it will list all of our viewing dates, and whether, if I can't find counselors for one specific building, we'll make sure that we have it happening at other close locations. So trying again, just to get it out there as much as we possibly can. So they were very excited and ready to go.
I'm wondering if that might be an opportunity to introduce our parents to QPR and maybe have some dates there so they would know when that's coming up, because I think that would maybe like dovetail into some of that. I trust you, and I think you have done an amazing job, everyone that's worked on this. I'm super concerned with the rollout and communication, because no matter how many times we communicate, we're always going to get one person that didn't hear it for whatever reason.
Yes.
So if there's anything that we can do, please let us know, or how we can support you. As a parent, I have older children, but younger children, I'm not sure I would want my child to participate in this. So what would happen if a child doesn't want to participate? What's plan B?
In terms of if the child shows up that day and doesn't want, or if
Correct.
the parent opts them out?
Parent opts them out.
If the parent opts them out, we will move forward with our opt-out plan, depending on how many students that is in a classroom. They'll either potentially go across the room to the other classroom, to a library, and have adult support. It's really hard to predict because we don't know how many people are going to opt their children out. So we have a plan if it's a few, and we have a plan if it's like an entire class, and just thinking through what are the health activities that will take place, because our policy requires that it's a similar activity but not the same. So we're looking at what we'll alternate that with. We have been really hyper-focused on selecting the curriculum materials, and now we're moving into those heavy communication, parent viewing, those pieces that come next. But I had shared with you, I'm very nervous about families not engaging ahead of time or not having access to, and just making sure that we give as many opportunities as we can for all of our families to view the lesson plan and content, and be aware of what we're required to teach their children.
Sure. I think it might be nice, every time we hold one of these events or someone speaking, if we could maybe invite our legislators so they know how hard we work
that
and what
would
we're
be
doing all the
great.
time.
I
So
would
maybe
love
just like a
that.
quick email of like, hey, again, oh, you're not here.
Yes.
But yeah, you handed
Yeah.
this to us.
Yes.
So, anybody else? Joe, anything you would like to say?
We're meeting with Senator Brenner in a couple of weeks. I'll run that by him.
Yeah. I'm sure he'd love to attend.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you both very much. Appreciate it. Okay. Board meeting minutes, 5.1. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting held on Monday, November 27th, 2023.
So moved.
Second?
Any comments, suggestions here? No. Hearing none?
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Abstain.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. We do not have any public comments this evening, which takes us to financials. 7.1, a resolution to approve the purchases in accordance with ORC 5705.41 and Board Policy 6320. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
And Ms. Marshall, would you like to talk to us about this?
Yes, thank you, President Davidson, members of the board. So we have two then and now purchase orders on the agenda this evening. So this is when we have a purchase order that was opened after an order date or an invoice date for a purchase. So the first one is for fire system professionals. So we actually had a purchase order in place that was closed, and this is a replacement purchase order for that, and that's for Westerville South's fire suppression work. And then our Access to Interpreters LLC, we had a purchase order open. It wasn't enough to cover the entire purchase, which is why you see it before you. Any questions about that? No. Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. Would it be okay if we took the personnel consent agenda as one? May I have a motion for 8.1 through 8.10 for the personnel consent agenda?
So moved?
Second.
Welcome.
Good evening, President Davidson, members of the board, Ms. Marshall, and Dr. Clark. This evening's personnel consent agenda includes action items with regard to resignations, retirements, leaves of absence, contract status changes, one-time pays, and other employment-related decisions. Additionally, there is one MOU for your consideration this evening. With regards to retirements, we have one staff member on this evening's agenda. Mike Hewler will be retiring at the end of this year with 25 years of service to our district. We appreciate Mike's dedication to our students and wish him the best in the years to come. The MOU for your consideration this evening is with our WEA and addresses the evaluation instrument for library media specialists. The Teacher Evaluation Steering Committee, commonly referred to as TESC, has referred the evaluation instrument and has reviewed the evaluation instrument and believes that this tool is more reflective of the previous evaluation tool that was being used. The decision is supported by our library media specialists as well as our administrators. We've had a team of library media specialists and administrators review the new evaluation rubric, and we even calibrated together to ensure we are all on the same page with our understandings. So at this time, I'm happy to take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Hearing none, thank you so much.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. Old business, 9.1, final reading, policy 8600, transportation. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Any comments, changes, suggestions? No. Hearing none?
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. 9.02, final reading, policy 8650, transportation by school van. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Any questions, suggestions? Hearing none?
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. Okay, moving on to new business. I am going to ask, so there's several pieces here, but looks like, Dr. Knapp, you have 4 of them. So would you mind starting with 10.1 first, the curriculum update, start there, then we can go on to the next one, and then we'll introduce the next set. Is that okay?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, thank you.
I don't have to click, so I should be fine. This first agenda item is focused on Senate Bill 288 and House Bill 123 requirements that were part of our earlier presentation. Do you have any additional questions? Okay. And again, this is something that will be voted on twice, which is why it's also part of the first reading for any additional clarification. The next, we have updated our health courses of study in grade 7 and at the high school level to align with these new state requirements that we've been speaking about. Our high school health teachers are also requesting class sets of McGraw-Hill's Glencoe Health as a primary text. We have been using Schoology for a number of years. They are wanting to go to class sets and then online licenses to help support their curriculum. Casey Brewer, Mary Clifford, and Joe Clegg represented our high schools as part of that work. We are also proposing a new course to count for PE credit. We brought PE before you many years ago, and we only had PE 1 and PE 2 as the credit options for graduation. So you still, if you took Lifetime Fitness back in 2013, you would still get a 0.25 credit, but it would be considered elective and would not count toward the 20. So we've had a team of teachers rewrite this course, and we are requesting that it be one of the 3 courses that are required for graduation. So students would need to take a combination of 2 of the 3 to fulfill this requirement. Through conversations that we had with High School Curriculum Council, great feedback was this is going to be confusing if we have PE 1 and PE 2 and Lifetime Fitness, because people aren't going to understand how that works. So in reaching out to our PE teachers, they're also requesting that PE 1 be called Net Games, like tennis, badminton, pickleball, kind of the focus of that course. And then PE 2 be called Team Sports, basketball, floor hockey, ultimate frisbee, things like that. So just it'll have a little bit more consistent naming convention, so people won't think that they have to take 1 and then 2 and then Lifetime Fitness. It just gets confusing. So And it's really exciting because there's several components of this new Lifetime Fitness. They'll learn about the components like endurance, and then they will build a plan, a health plan, on how, that will become something sustainable. So it's a lot of project-based learning that they're really able to do individually. So this is something our PE teachers have been asking for, and we were able to work with them this year to get this proposal to you. So they're very excited. Todd Minnie, Adam Asbeck, and Brett Weiss helped to facilitate that work. High school math and business. I'm going to start with math first. Ohio has been developing additional math progressions beyond Algebra 2 to the calculus progression, which is what we've been talking about for years when the Algebra 2 requirement came to be. As we explore and offer additional coursework to align to these progressions, we have rewritten statistics, functions, and probability to statistics and probability to align with these state expectations. And we look forward to having continued conversations with our high schools, counselors, math teachers to understand how we may have various math progressions for our students, but a little early to do that at this point, but getting this course on the books is a great first step. And Michael Hewler was part of this work, so he will be missed. Amy Ward, Jessica Martin, and Andrea Gall at our high schools also helped to write this course. And switching to business, and if you have any specific questions, thank you, Matt Meisner, for being here. Last year, the Ohio Department of Education announced changes to the business career field pathways in the middle of the school year, which they have never done that before. We're kind of experiencing a whole lot of new. This update included removing courses and organizing the remaining courses into four pathways down from 5. So given this, and reviewing labor statistics, in-demand careers in Central Ohio, and in collaboration with our college partners, the district reorganized our business and logistics pathway. We've also utilized this opportunity to add 2 new College Credit Plus courses and to update and align 2 other courses. The first is the Fundamentals of Entrepreneurship, which is a College Credit Plus course, which aims to provide students with a comprehensive understanding of the principles, concepts, and skills essential for starting and managing a successful business venture. And I will tell you, when this was read at High School Curriculum Council, everyone's like, oh, these classes are cool. So we're looking forward to great enrollment because these are really exciting opportunities for our kids. The other one, and I will tell you, the business teacher came up to me after learning about this course and working on this course. She's like, branding is so exciting. I can't wait. So branding, also a College Credit Plus course, deals with brands, why they are important, what they represent to consumers, and what they represent to the firms that manage them as invaluable, intangible assets. Our next 2 courses are high school. The high school financial accounting course seeks to equip students with the essential skills, fostering not only an understanding of core accounting principles, but also nurturing, I think I've talked too much, but also nurturing critical thinking, financial literacy, and informed decision-making. And it's a merging of Accounting 1 and Accounting 2, just through conversations that Matt had with business teachers and what our students really need to move forward. Having just 1 semester of accounting doesn't prepare them in the way that they need and to align with our pathways. And then lastly, computer applications for business is a revision of our 21st century technology skills. We've been working to revise that for a number of years, and it is designed to equip students with the comprehensive skills needed to navigate, communicate, and create in online spaces effectively and responsibly. So in conjunction with Matt, Amanda Mosley, Ricky Robbins, Dr. Lori Marburger, and Carrie Williams contributed to those courses of study. So I'm shifting gears. Would you like me to keep going?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
And as was discussed earlier, while our parents do not have a right to make a blanket opt-out of our district's curriculum, the law does provide parents the right to opt out of a limited number of identified subjects. So this policy simply adds the words child child sexual abuse prevention and sexual violence prevention to align with Senate Bill 288. So as you look at the policy, it lists several things. They were on one of the slides. We just needed to add that to be, to align our policy. Great. Any questions over all of that?
No?
Okay.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, 10.5, first reading of policy 9270, equivalent education outside of the schools, and I'd like to welcome Mr. McElwain.
Thank you, President Davidson. Good evening, Dr. Clark, Ms. Marshall, members of the Board of Education. It is my pleasure to present to you the first reading for revisions for policy 9270, equivalent education outside the schools, better known as home education. This policy is recommended for language revisions due to changes in Ohio Revised Code from House Bill 33, which is the governor's budget bill. Most of these revisions are just some general wording pieces that have changed due to the new bill and the new language, but we do need to make some updates to our board policy to make sure that we are in line with Ohio Revised Code and up to date on our policies. If anyone has any questions, I'll be more than happy to take those now.
I don't have a question, but I have deep concerns about the changes the state made. The decimating of the requirements for homeschooling is deeply concerning, and it sets up a situation whereby parents who do not necessarily have the best interests of their children at heart will be able to get away with hiding various situations in the home. We have in this state removed much of the capacity for oversight that the districts once had. And this is, in many ways, a tragedy waiting to happen for a number of students.
A lot of things have been removed with these new changes. That is accurate. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, moving on. 10.6, first reading policy 5320, immunization. I'd like to welcome Rachel Pinto. And Rachel, would you mind starting with the first policy and going through the next four that you are going to present on?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, President Davidson, members of the board, Dr. Clark and Mrs. Marshall. We can start with policy 5320, immunizations. This policy reflects updates according to the Ohio Department of Health. These revisions are consistent with current Ohio law and regulations and are recommended to be adopted to maintain accurate policies and practices. Any questions?
Hearing none.
The next two policies, policy 5330, use of medications, is a revision, and policy 5330.05, the procurement and use of naloxone, which is Narcan, in emergency situations, is a new policy. Based on House Bill 558, both policies have updated language to include the procurement, storage, and use of Narcan if needed in emergency situations. These recommendations are consistent with current Ohio law and in alignment with established protocols to address potential opiate emergencies. The majority of neighboring districts have already adopted this policy, and it is our recommendation that we also adopt these two policies. Questions? Okay. The last one for your review is a new policy, policy 5337, care of students with active seizure disorders. Beginning this school year, districts are now required to provide staff training and to create seizure action plans for any and all students who have been diagnosed with an active seizure disorder. The good news is we've already been doing this, so there's nothing new for our clinics to manage, and it is our recommendation that we adopt this policy as well. Any questions?
Nope. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Okay, 10.10, first reading, the 2025-2026 academic calendar, and I'd like to welcome Carrie Dennis. Welcome.
Well, good evening, President Davidson, members of the board, Dr. Clark and Mrs. Marshall. I would like to present to you the first reading of the 2025-2026 school year. It's a crazy calendar. The district developed calendar options for a superintendent's calendar committee to review. The committee is comprised of representatives from Westerville Parent Council, WESA, OPSI 719, OPSI 138, WEA, our AAS group, and our teaching and learning team. The committee studied the options and sought feedback from the represented groups. The committee met in person to share their feedback, and a revised option was developed to be presented for the board to review this evening. There is a minimum of 30 days for review before the second reading, so this will return to you in February for a vote. I would be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Hearing none.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, recommended action standing business, 11.1, appointment of President Pro Tem. I would be willing to throw my name out there unless someone else would like to do it. No? May I have a motion to appoint Tracy Davidson as President Pro Tem from January 1st, 2024 until the election of the next board president on January 8th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Ready? Mrs. Ottman?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. 11.2, a resolution of intent to participate in the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission Expedited Local Partnership Program. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
And welcome, Carrie, again.
Me again. Good evening. So before you tonight is a resolution of intent to participate in the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission Expedited Local Partnership Program. A similar resolution was previously approved by the board when we started the process with the OFCC for Phase 1 of the Facility Master Plan. However, the OFCC requires a new resolution and application to initiate their reassessment and work that will align with Phase 2 of the Facility Master Plan. Thus, it is recommended that the board approve the resolution to participate in the OFCC ELP program.
Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Ottman?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. And we do not have any public comments this evening, which takes us to board comments. Does anyone have any comments this evening? You're choking?
I just want to congratulate all of the A+ award winners once again this evening. Congratulations to the students that were recognized, and really want to thank Mr. Reeves and Dr. Kohler for just the marvelous job that they are doing in working with students. The presentation that they did this evening was, I think, marvelous, and serves as a model example of what student-directed learning opportunities can look like and the kinds of educational opportunities that our students can truly learn from, grow from, and will appreciate for the rest of their lives. So thank you so much for really picking that ball up and running with it and producing a marvelous outcome, not just for those students but for our district as a whole. And just in closing, one more thank you to the students, staff, families of the Westerville City School District, and allowing me the opportunity to be able to serve in this capacity and to serve this community. It has truly been an honor and a pleasure for me, so thank you all.
So again, congratulations to everyone. It's such a joyous event when we have the A+ award winners, and just really appreciate the hard work the students put into the project on redlining too, and the way they brought the Westerville lens to it. Even though the direct effects might not have been here in the same way as some other communities, it's important to understand how this history shapes who we are today. So thanks very much to them for that. And I just want to close by saying thank you to Vaughn. You know, I think it's so important what you said before. You're just going off the board. You're not. You're still going to be around, and you have been a community servant for a long time before you were on the board, and I know you will be for a long time after. and just so appreciate your collegiality, your constantly looking for opportunities for students like we saw tonight, and your heart in this work, and I just want to thank you for being a wonderful person and board member. So thank you.
I will thank you one more time, and thank you for having the heart of a public servant. You will be deeply missed. Yeah, you're just going off the board, but you approached it in some ways as a higher calling. And by doing that, you elevated this district. And I thank you for that.
So I'm going to echo all of these wonderful comments tonight, but I would like to say a special thank you to Vaughn. Thank you for jumping in when Richard Byrd could no longer serve, and then running again, because we all know it's not easy. So I appreciate all your time and your energy and your love for the district and the students and staff. You will definitely be missed. So,
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving on, 14.1, the board will meet in organizational in regular session here on Monday, January 8th at 6 p.m. here at the Early Learning Center. And 15.1, may have a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of discussing the employment and compensation of a public employee.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. So we're going to enter executive session, and then we'll come back and adjourn here. I want to thank you all for staying with us tonight. I know it was really long, and we really appreciate all the information. So thank you so much, and go have a great evening.
7:51.
Okay. We are back from executive session, and may I please have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. And with that, we're adjourned.